What's up, Exiles? It's DrWumpus, and we've got some upcoming changes and improvements to go over today. As far as gameplay features go, they've already told us before we're going to be getting fast travel between checkpoints. They're also going to be making our passives a lot cheaper to respec, like 40 or 50%, they say. I respect earlier this week, it cost me 300k at like level 68. It was quite a bit. Uh, Trials of Sekhemas are actually getting improved to help out with melee. They fixed some bug where we were taking too much honor damage from damage of time effects. It now scales with how close we are in range with them. We'll take 35% less damage from melee hits, and then this will taper down the farther away that you get. Fixed a bug where damage over time was dealing 3 times as much damage to honor as intended, and fixed a bug where honor resistance was only applying to 2/3 of that damage. This was confusing for us too. I bet it was. Skittering golems no longer use basic attacks, they just now explode. Serpent Clan burrow and ambush attacks now has improved visual and telegraphing that cannot be used from far away. Before, they were doing it from off screen, and then all of a sudden you'd have 4 or 5 come up from beneath you, and then all of a sudden all your honor was gone and you're dead. Uh, Volcanoes created by Rattle Cage's Fissure Slam now last half the duration, which that's huge. I had a hard time with it my first go around. I really didn't have enough damage, and I was just caked up with volcanoes all over the map. I had nowhere to run. Um, In-game and monster balances. Generally, the balance in the in-game maps was more punishing than intended, so we've toned down the damage in a number of ways and disabled certain on-death effects that where the telegraphing was not as clear as it should have been. Maps no longer have additional resistance penalties inherently applied at Tier 6 and Tier 11 or higher maps. It is now consistent across all of in-game. That's actually really nice because you would go into a map and look at your resistances and it would be lower, and then you would start searching your gear and all your items and everything that was going on and trying to figure out what you messed up or what you accidentally equipped. So this is a very nice change. The chaos damage that was causing a lot of the one shots in game is now less aggressive over the end game. Critical strikes from monsters now deal 40% less damage, and lowered the baseline monster density of breach encounters primarily by reducing the frequency of the elite monsters appearing. They disabled the volatile crystal modifier. They'll be revisiting it in the future and hoping to improve its telegraphing. I mean, it would come up, it would cover your screen, and then you would explode and die. It was pretty much a one shot. It did so much damage. The purple explosions created by volatile plant modifier on rare monsters now deal significantly less damage. And the siphon flash charges modifier on monsters is now draining 10 times less flash charges. This was unintentionally draining way too many charges away from us. Um, these changes that they've made should result in a much more survivable endgame than before, and they'll continue to address problematic cases as they arrive. Characters and item balance. So this is where we're going to get into some nerfs and we're going to get into some buffs. Let's see here. We made a change to charm modifiers on belts to make them significantly more common. Before, I know we're in the end game now and we still only have one charm. Now they're going to give us the modifier of symbolism at 23 and onwards. That'll give us another charge. And of inscription modifier that'll now appear at 64 and onwards. Electrocute is now 25% harder to build up, but the damage penalty has been removed from the support gems. Uh, Added a new lightning damage electrocute cluster to the passive tree in between the ranger and monk sections. That'll probably give them a little bit more support for their lightning damage so it's not so weak. It is now more difficult to chain freeze enemies after the initial freeze has been applied, which is normal for stun as well. The Hunter Talisman notable now grants one charm slot. The small passive skill leading up to it now grants the the ability that that notable had before. The charm helper text has been updated to indicate that you cannot have more than 3 charm slots unlocked, so that we can add more sources of it in the future. Now we get into the buffs and the nerfs. Skills and support gem balance. Since launch, unfortunately, they've had to nerf quite a few skills that were far too overpowered. How do they define overpowered? Basically, it's a situation in which certain skills is so powerful that players feel like no other gameplay is viable. Which makes sense. I mean, they just become the meta, and then everything else, if you're not playing that build, it's just not worth playing the game. Uh, Generally speaking, they're trying to do this in a way that doesn't break the build, but they can make mistakes. It does happen. Ideally, any truly meta shifting changes will only happen at the beginning of the new league instead of in the middle of the league. That way, they're not breaking characters after we've worked so hard to get the gear and the things that we've needed. But that doesn't mean we haven't been looking at underpowered skills and support gems. We've got a number of changes plans which should improve some of these skills in the future. This isn't the full list, this is just a sample. Let's see what they've got going for us. There's been improvements to Rolling Slam and all shield skills in the Mace section, to various bow skills, especially the skills used to generate frenzy charges, to bone skills and chaos damage over time spells in the occult section. That'll be nice so we're not just going Fire Witch. To various crossbow skills, especially the ones at higher tiers, and to some of the underachieving quarterstaff abilities. Alongside all of these skill gem improvements, we've also done a pass over the support gems, and we've added 2 new supports and removed or lessened the penalties on many others, notably fire, lightning, and cold exposure supports. Added the Tremor support gem, which will give up to multiple more aftershocks to the skill with a damage penalty. Added the Binding skill gem, which can be used to give more damage to the command skills of supported minions. That'll be cool. That'll pump up our Archer's Poison and our Arsonist Flame Explosion if we use it. The fire exposure, lightning, and cold exposures support gems no longer penalize damage of the supported skill. They now have a mana cost multiplier of 120%, which that's actually pretty good. I like that change a lot. There are some notable nerfs that are coming. Let's see here. Skeletal Arsonist spirit costs now match the other 2 spirits. This would result in a slightly decrease in the number of Arsonists at higher levels. I think the other ones cost 41 right now, and the Arsonist is like 29 or 30. And so it'll probably be like 2 less Arsonists in the top game if you've got your Spirit on your Amulet and your chest piece and everything else. A nerf to the damage over time components on very high levels of Tornado and Vine Arrow. These were never intended to be damage dealing themselves, but to act as a way for other skills to propagate damage. Magnetic Salvo can now only use your stuck lightning arrows as opposed to the ones created by your party members, which that makes sense. If you run all rangers, you're probably getting quite a bit of damage out of Magnetic Salvo. As we wind down for the holiday seasons, we want to thank all of you for the most successful launch so far. We could have not have done it without all your support. A lot of our team has began to take some much needed rest over the next few weeks, but we're still looking forward to getting back into the new year refreshed and ready to exchange the exciting year of development in 2025. Happy holidays, Exiles. I think all in all, what we see here is actually really good changes. The survivability for the end game is huge, and to help out our melee and our trials of Sekhemas, like the 3rd trial can be pretty rough on them, so this is a big help as well. I don't see anything here that seems too detrimental, but I guess we'll see as the patch notes come out and we get everything that's involved. Well, that's me. If this has helped, like, follow, subscribe, and I hope you guys have a great night.